Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In this video, inshallah, I will show you how Dan Gibson's Qibla research is nothing but polemic masquerading as academic research. Let's go and watch.
After the Mosque of the Two Qiblas in Saudi Arabia, there are a further 11 early surviving mosques that we can research. These are located in China, Egypt, southern Jordan, Lebanon, central Jordan, Yemen, Israel, Iraq, Jerusalem. 100% of all the surviving mosques we have located so far face a spot in southern Jordan rather than Mecca. From north, south, east and west, mosques all face towards one spot. This isn't some small error in determining the Qibla direction. They all specifically point to just one place.
Directly under this point is the ancient city of Petra.
Let me explain to you what you have seen in the previous clip. At first you saw the list of mosques, which Dan Gibson referred to as the early surviving mosques. And then you saw the conclusion of the research he did. And the conclusion was that all the mosques which were built within the first 100 years of Islam faced Petra.
The result is amazing. During the first 100 years of Islam,
The first 100 years of Islam starts from 610 to 710. And if you want to take the date of Hijrah, then it started in 622 up to 722. Let's go and see the last two mosques in Dan Gibson's list.
West Bank, and lastly Lebanon.
According to Dan Gibson, both of these two mosques were built in 724. 724 clearly doesn't fall in the first 100 years of Islam. And even if you took the Hijrah date, which is from 622 to 722, still they don't fall in that period. If someone says that he is going to research the mosques in the first 100 years of Islam, then why doesn't he stick to that criteria? Why does he conveniently make an exception to one or two mosques which supports his hypothesis? And for those supporters of Dan Gibson who has already started writing comments saying it's not a big deal, it's just 2 years, be patient, that's not everything. Because what you are going to witness now will make any sensible and reasonable person lose faith in Dan Gibson and his hypothesis. Let's go and watch.
So far, Dan Gibson has plotted the existing mosques from the 1st century of Islam, and they all point to Petra in Jordan. So what about the mosques of the 2nd century of Islam? Do they all point to Petra as well?
Here is where things start to get interesting. During my studies, I discovered that the mosques built during the 2nd century of Islam point in different directions. This is what I call the time of confusion.
102 years after the founding of Islam, the Mosque of Ummah was constructed in southern Syria, in the ancient city of Busra. As you can see, the mosque's orientation does not point towards Mecca, but clearly it does not point to Petra either.
Very interesting. So according to Dan Gibson, this mosque of Busra was built 102 years after the founding of Islam. And he classified this period as the 2nd century of Islam. And in his website, 102 years after the founding of Islam is 721. Let's go to the two mosques that we spoke about earlier. They were built in 724. So 724 is 1st century, 721 is 2nd century. Very consistent, isn't it? I mean, if you're going to use these two mosques which were built in 724 and claim that they were built within the first 100 years of Islam, then you must include this one, right? And again, let me address the excited fans of Dan Gibson who might be now writing comments saying, well, it's just one mosque, it's just one mistake. Guys, don't get excited, be patient. Let's go to Dan Gibson website and choose the Between Qibla category. These are the mosques which were supposedly built in the 2nd century of Islam. Remember, the dates of the last two mosques in Dan Gibson's list was 724. How many mosques do you see here which were built before 724? How many? Within the first 100 years of the foundation of Islam, from 610 to 710, there are 6 mosques which were built within this period. And if you take the Hijrah calendar, there are at least 12 mosques which should be classified as first century mosques according to Islamic calendar. Dan Gibson excluded all of them from the first 100 years of Islam and shamelessly put 2 mosques which were built in 724 in the 2nd century of Islam. This is not academic at all. This is, as David King described, an immature work. Because in academic work, usually you make a hypothesis and then try to prove your hypothesis by trying to falsify it. If you could falsify your hypothesis, you abandon it and then try to find another hypothesis. In this case, the researcher found so many mosques which falsified his hypothesis, but he chose to resort to deception, knowing that most people will take him for his word and won't spend much time fact-checking him. It's all in front of you guys. He claimed that 2 mosques which were built in 724 were amongst the early surviving mosques. And here we have a list of 12 mosques which were built before them. And yet they are not classified as mosques which were built within the first 100 years of Islam, even though they were built within the first 100 years of Islam, not according to me, according to Dan Gibson himself. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope by now that you have realized that this hypothesis is a joke. If you like the video, then please subscribe to the channel and click the like button. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.